So today we are going to see about thalamus. Thalamus is a very important structure that is present in central nervous system, and it is a sensory relay station for all sensations which relays in the thalamus and then it projects to the central nervous system. So this topic we will cover under the following headings. So objectives of the thalamus. So you must know physiological anatomy of thalamus, classification of thalamic nuclei, connection of thalamus, afferents and efferents, and the functions of thalamus. Also we have to learn about applied aspects of thalamus. In the diagram you can see this is a yellow part. So this is a structure of thalamus which is situated immediate lateral to the third ventricle, and it has an anterior pole and a posterior pole. Also projections are going from the thalamus to the different parts of cerebral cortex. You can see here this is the hypothalamus which is lying beneath to that thalamus. This is a cerebellum. You can see here these are the pons and the medulla. What are the external feature of thalamus? So dorsal thalamus is a large ovoid structure placed immediately lateral to the third ventricle. It has anterior and posterior end and having the four surfaces: dorsal, ventral, medial and lateral. Anterior end lies just behind the interventricular foramen, and posterior pole or end is continuous as a pulvinar nucleus. In the internal structure, thalamus consists of white matter and the grey matter. So white matter is the scanty in thalamus, and it includes the striatum zonale, is a thin layer of white matter covering the superior surface of thalamus. Then the external medullary lamina is a thin layer of white matter covering the lateral surface of thalamus. It consists of thalamocortical and corticothalamic fibers. And in white matter also have internal medullary lamina. So it is a Y-shaped sheet of white matter placed vertically in the grey matter of thalamus. It consists mainly of internuclear thalamic connections. And also with the help of this Y-shaped internal medullary lamina, you can divide thalamus in the anterior part, lateral part and medial part. So in the diagram you can see this is internal medullary lamina which divides thalamus into anterior part, medial part and lateral part. So this anterior part is called as anterior nucleus. Then there are numerous nucleus are present in the lateral part, and also in the medial part we have a dorsomedial nucleus. So this is a dorsomedial nucleus. Now how will you classify thalamic nuclei? So we have a functional classification and anatomical classification. In functional classification you can classify thalamic nuclei in non-specific projection nuclei and specific projection nuclei. So non-specific projection nuclei means those which receives impulses for diffuse secondary responses from the reticular activating system and project diffusely to the whole of neocortex. So it includes non-specific projective nuclei includes midline nuclei and centromedian nuclei. Then specific projection nuclei. So specific projection nuclei, it depends upon type of sensation. So this nuclei receives specific sensations and project to specific portion of neocortex and the limbic system. So specific projection nuclei, we have a sensory relay nuclei, motor control nuclei and visceral efferent control nuclei, and also it is having integrative and perceptual function nuclei. So sensory relay nuclei consist of medial geniculate body, lateral geniculate body, posteroventral group nuclei. In motor control nuclei have a ventrolateral group of nuclei, ventral anterior nucleus. Visceral efferent control nuclei consist of anterior group of nuclei and dorsomedial nucleus. The fourth one is integrative and perceptual function control nuclei. So it consists of pulvinar nucleus, lateral posterior nucleus, dorsal lateral nucleus. So these all receive specific sensation and projects to specific portion of neocortex and limbic system. Now you can see here anatomical classification of thalamic nuclei. So thalamus is anatomically classified by Y-shaped internal medullary lamina into anterior, medial and the lateral group of nuclei. So anterior portion is called as anterior nucleus and it is present in the bifurcation of Y-shaped nuclei. Then medial is present as a medial dorsal nuclei. Lateral is divided into lateral group of nuclei and the ventral group of nuclei. So lateral group of nuclei further divided into lateral dorsal, lateral posterior and a pulvinar group of nuclei. Ventral group of nuclei divided into ventral anterior, ventral lateral and ventral posterior. Ventral posterior group of nuclei further divided into ventro-posterior-medial and ventro-posterior-lateral group of nuclei. Now in this diagram you can see the different nuclei. So this is Y-shaped internal medullary lamina. In the center you can see the central nuclei, that is a centromedian. This is a non-specific projection nuclei. Also the midline nuclei, the centromedian. Midline nuclei is here. So these are the non-specific projection nuclei. Then come to the anterior nucleus, which is present in the bifurcation of the Y-shaped internal lamina. Then on the medial side, this is the dorsomedial nuclei. This is the dorsomedial nuclei. So we have anterior group of nuclei, then the medial group of nuclei. Now the here come to the lateral side. So this is the lateral. In the lateral you can divide the nuclei as a lateral and the ventral group of nuclei. So ventral group of nuclei is divided into ventral anterior, ventral lateral and ventral posterior. Ventral posterior further divided into ventral posterior medial, ventral posterior lateral. So these are the ventral. Then lateral group of nuclei. So lateral group of nuclei divided into lateral dorsal, lateral posterior and the pulvinar group of nuclei. Also we have a lateral geniculate body and a medial geniculate body. So in this way the thalamic nuclei can be classified anatomically. In this diagram it is much more clear, you can see. So in the center there is a midline nuclei, you can see. This is the Y-shaped internal medullary lamina. So this is the anterior. Then we have a ventral group of nuclei, you can see. This is the ventral anterior, ventral lateral and ventral posterior. So this ventral posterior is again the ventral posterior medial, ventral posterior lateral. Then on the lateral side we have a lateral dorsal, lateral posterior and a pulvinar group of nuclei. Here there is medial geniculate body and a lateral geniculate body. On the top view you can see this is the reticular nuclei. So again on the surface the name is written, you can see this is the anterior one, this is the anterior, this is the midline nuclei, this is the third ventricle, it is going. You can see on the ventral surface ventral anterior, ventral lateral, ventral posterior, in that ventral posterior lateral, ventral posterior medial, then the lateral group of nuclei, lateral dorsal, lateral posterior and the pulvinar group of nuclei. Again this is the same diagram, you can see here the reticular nuclei is You can see this is the reticular nuclei in this Y-shaped. This one is the anterior, then the ventral anterior, ventral lateral, ventral posterolateral, ventral posteromedial, dorsal lateral, dorsal posterolateral. This is the pulvinar nuclei, lateral geniculate body and medial geniculate body. So here you can see some connections also. So from the basal ganglia, the afferents are going to the ventral anterior nucleus, and from ventral anterior nucleus the efferents will going to the premotor and the motor cortex. For the ventrolateral, from the connections will come from the cerebellum to the ventrolateral nucleus. Spinothalamic pathways, all spinothalamic pathways release into the ventroposterolateral nuclei. Dorsal column pathway, so medial and the lateral lemniscus both are relay into ventral posterolateral nuclei. The lateral geniculate body, mainly the optic tract is relay into the lateral geniculate body, and the acoustic pathway is relay in the medial geniculate body. In the diagram you can see the afferents and the efferents connection in the same diagram. So you can start with the afferent connections. So in the afferent connections, the anterior nucleus. So from the mammillary bodies, the fibers will come to the anterior nucleus. Ventroanterior part from the substantia nigra and the globus pallidus. So these both are the parts of basal ganglia. So the afferents will come to ventroanterior and the ventrolateral nuclei. From the cerebellum, the fibers will go or afferents will go to the ventrolateral nucleus. You can see here ventroposterolateral and the ventroposteromedial nuclei. So the spinal, medial and the lateral and the trigeminal lemnisci. So all the specific sensory sensations are relayed into ventral posterolateral and the ventral posteromedial nuclei. This is the pulvinar nucleus. So from the afferents from superior and the inferior colliculi, the fibers will come to the pulvinar nucleus. For lateral geniculate body, the optic tract will carry the fibers, and medial geniculate body, the lateral lemniscus will carry the fibers to medial geniculate body. From here also the fibers will go to the pulvinar nucleus. Now come to the efferent connections. So from the anterior nucleus, the fibers will go to the cingulate gyrus. From ventral anterior nucleus, the efferents will go to premotor cortex. From ventrolateral nucleus, efferents will go to motor cortex area number 4 and 6. From ventroposterior nucleus, medial and the lateral, all these efferents will go to somatosensory cortex. From pulvinar nucleus, the efferents will go to parietal, occipital and the superior temporal cortex. From lateral geniculate body, the efferents will go to visual cortex. From medial geniculate body, efferents will go to auditory cortex area number 41 and 42. So in this diagram it shows the afferents and the efferents connection. So again in this diagram you can see the efferents are going from the ventroanterior and the ventrolateral to the motor cortex roughly. Then from ventroposterolateral it is going to the somatosensory areas. From pulvinar nucleus, the efferents will go to the posterior association area, temporal lobe posterior association area. From lateral geniculate bodies, it goes to the visual cortex. From medial geniculate body, it goes to the auditory cortex. In this diagram again you can see from the basal ganglia, from the basal ganglia, the fibers are going to the from the putamen and the globus pallidus. These are the parts of basal ganglia. The fibers are going to the thalamus. Then medial lemnisci, spinothalamic and the trigeminal lemnisci again the afferents will go to the thalamus. For the vision it will go to lateral geniculate body. From the hearing it will go to the medial geniculate body. This is the reticular formation. Fibers will go to the thalamus. So from the olfactory impulses, fibers will come to the amygdaloid complex and it will again go to the thalamus. From this you can see the fibers are going from the thalamus to the cortex, to the cerebral cortex. There is a to and fro connection from the caudate nucleus to the thalamus. Now we will see each and every nucleus in details. So here the ventral posterior nucleus, which is divided into ventral posterior medial and ventral posterior lateral nucleus. So from trigeminothalamic tract, the afferents will come to the ventro-posterior medial, and from medial lemniscus the afferents will come to lateral part. Then from ventral posterior nucleus it relay into the cerebral cortex, somatosensory area 3, 2 and 1. This diagram showing about the ventral nucleus. So ventral nucleus is divided into ventral anterior nucleus, ventral lateral nucleus. So from the globus pallidus and substantia nigra, that these are the part of basal ganglia. So fibers will go to the ventral anterior nucleus and efferents will go to premotor area. For the ventral lateral nucleus, the afferents will come from dentate nucleus of thalamus and efferents will go to motor area 4. The connections of lateral geniculate body. So from the lateral geniculate body, the afferents are going from the superior colliculus, visual areas of the cerebral cortex. The efferents will come to the visual areas of cerebral cortex. So the optic tract, mainly the afferent for the lateral geniculate body along with the optic tract from the retina. Noradrenergic fibers are going from the locus coeruleus. The serotonergic fibers are going from the raphe nucleus. Also some fibers from the pons and the medulla, they relay into the lateral geniculate body. Also the superior colliculus, they are having the to and fro connections. And mainly the efferents for this lateral geniculate body are the visual cortex and the pulvinar nucleus. Now the medial geniculate body. So the afferents for medial geniculate body, so the superior olivary nucleus, it will go to the inferior colliculi and from inferior colliculi the afferents will come to the medial geniculate body. Also the opposite superior olivary nucleus also come to the inferior colliculus and relay into the medial geniculate body. And where the efferents will go? The efferents will go to the acoustic area of cerebral cortex as a acoustic radiation. Also some efferents will go to pulvinar nucleus. Here is the intralaminar nuclei. So intralaminar nuclei again divided anterior group and posterior group. So from many areas of the CNS, the superior colliculus, reticular formation, spinothalamic tract, cerebellar nuclei, substantia nigra, globus pallidus. So the afferents from all these areas will relay into the intralaminar nuclei, and from intralaminar nuclei the efferents will go to the premotor area, other areas of cerebral cortex and the striatum. Now the medial dorsal nucleus. So it is the longest nucleus that is present in the thalamus. So afferents for this medial dorsal nucleus, amygdaloid body, olfactory cortex and the globus pallidus, and efferents are going to prefrontal cortex. So again here the midline nuclei, you can see the Afferents are coming from the reticular formation, noradrenergic fibers from locus coeruleus, serotonergic fibers from raphe nuclei, periaqueductal gray matter, and also from the hypothalamus. And efferents are going to amygdaloid complex, hippocampal formation, orbitofrontal cingulates, and nucleus accumbens. Now the lateral nuclei. So you know how to divide lateral nuclei: lateral dorsal, lateral posterior, and the pulvinar group of nuclei. So afferents for lateral dorsal, anterior and the medial group of thalamic nuclei, and efferents are going to cingulate and parahippocampal gyrus. For lateral posterior nuclei, the afferents are coming from ventral posterior group of thalamic nuclei, and efferents will go to superior parietal lobule, area number 5 and 7. For pulvinar nucleus, the afferents will come from lateral and medial geniculate bodies and the superior colliculi, and efferents will go to association area of parietal, occipital, and the temporal lobe. This is again the lateral nuclei. You can see here the lateral dorsal, lateral posterior, pulvinar group of nuclei. So from the superior colliculus and the pretectal areas, the afferents are going in the both three areas, and the efferents are going to the most of the part of cerebral cortex. So you can see the gyrus cinguli, parahippocampal gyrus, parietal lobe, prefrontal and the orbitofrontal lobe, temporal lobe, and the occipital lobe. So this lateral group of nuclei are going to the different part of cerebral cortex. Now what are the functions of thalamus? So thalamus is a relay station for all the impulses, sensory impulses except olfactory, reach the thalamic nuclei, which relay them to the cerebral cortex by a series of projection fibers, collectively termed the thalamic radiation. So whatever the projections are going to the cortex, they are called as thalamic projections or ascending thalamocortical system. So because of this, thalamus is usually considered the head ganglia of all sensory system. So in the thalamus there is a specific relay sensation for the specific sensations. The thalamus is not only a great relay station for all sensations but also forms a major center for integration and modification of peripheral sensory impulses before the impulses are projected to specific areas of cerebral cortex. This function of thalamus is called processing of sensory information. So, the processing of sensory information is taking place in the thalamus, and because of this, thalamus is usually considered as a functional gateway of cerebral cortex. So, it has a very important role in the relay of spatial sensations. So, in the spatial sensations, we have a vision and a hearing. Also, thalamus is having the function of crude touch for perception of sensation. So, processing and relaying of sensation is taking place in the thalamus, but it also acts as a crude center for sense perception. So, pain sensation is perceived in the thalamus itself. Usually, the sensation have two qualities: the discriminative nature and the affective nature. The discriminative nature is the ability to recognize type, location, and other details of the sensation. It is the function of cerebral cortex. So, what is affective nature of the pain sensation? So, affective nature is the capacity to determine whether the sensation is pleasant or unpleasant. So, this can be detected at the level of thalamus, whether the sensation is pleasant or unpleasant. It is also a center for integration of motor functions. So, thalamus receives the output from basal ganglia and the cerebellum before projecting it to the motor cortex. So, thereby helping in integration of motor functions by unconscious regulation of muscle tone. So because of the relation for most of the fibers at the level of thalamus, so it is one of the integration center for regulation of muscle tone. Thalamus is also having a role in arousal and alertness reaction. So majority of non-specific ascending impulses from reticular activating system are related to thalamus before proceeding to cortex. So these fibers, the thalamus is involved in controlling the level of consciousness and maintaining state of alertness and wakefulness. Also thalamus is having a role in emotional aspects of behavior because of the intimate connection between thalamus and the frontal cortex and the hypothalamus. So thalamus involved in subjective feeling of various emotions. Thus it acts as a part of limbic system. It also acts as a part of Papez circuit, which is concerned and with the recent memory and the emotions. It also having the role in the language. So it is concerned with the language function, integration between different cortical parts by subcortical connections in the thalamus helps to achieve speech. Also it is having the role in synchronization and the electroencephalogram. It is a center for integration of visceral and the somatic functions. It is also a center for sexual sensation. Thalamus acts as a center for perception of sexual sensations. And this is also, thalamus is also useful in the reflex activity. So all the sensory fibers rely in the thalamus. So it forms the center for many reflex activities. So these are the functions of thalamus. So there is synchronization of EEG. The role of thalamus is there. It having the role in a sleep. Sensory motor coordination helps in the muscle tone, language and the speech. So mainly the dorsal lateral nucleus of thalamus is reciprocally connected with the parietal lobe of the brain and concerned with the language and the speech and the complex integrated functions. Now what is thalamic syndrome? So it is the applied aspect of thalamus. The thalamic syndrome is a disturbance of emotional response to sensory experience. The cause of thalamic syndrome is produced by a damage to posteroventral and the posterolateral nuclei as a result of thrombotic blockage of thalamo-geniculate branch of posterior cerebral artery. So that lead to thalamic syndrome. So there is severe impairment of discriminative touch and the pressure on the contralateral side. Diffuse touch, temperature and the pain sensation are less impaired. Also the sensory symptoms, other sensory symptoms are asterignosis. It is due to loss of tactile localization, tactile discrimination and asterignosis. Patient may have a thalamic phantom limb. So patient is unable to locate the position of a limb with closed eye and searches for the limb in air. This occurs due to loss of kinesthetic sensation. Also there is decrease in the muscle tone, profound weakness in the muscles and ataxia. In this syndrome, patient may get the thalamic overreaction. The threshold for a pain and the touch temperature is decreased. So with a small pain, because of decrease in the threshold, the patient may develop or he will feel that the more pain is there. So the thalamic overreaction for pain is get much more and the sensation become exaggerated and disagreeable. Also patient may get the amlognosis. So it is a illusion felt by the patient that his limb is absent. The motor symptoms in this syndrome is ataxia, decreased muscle tone, profound muscular weakness occur due to damage to cerebellar afferents. Then the involuntary movements, any of the movements that like chorea or athetosis or the wristing and the twisting movement. These movements mainly get whenever there is a damage to the basal ganglia. Also patient may get intention tremors and it is associated with thalamic syndrome. What is thalamic hand or athetotic hand? So it refers to abnormal posture of the hand occurring in a patient with thalamic syndrome. It is characterized by moderate flexion of wrist with hyperextended fingers. So, this is about the thalamic syndrome. So, with this we should know about the thalamus, that is the classification of thalamic nuclei, what are the afferents and the efferents, and the function of each and every nuclei and the applied aspect.